Yo, what up? It's your boy, JJ Stone, aka Black Gritty. Welcome to another episode of Gritty Nights. Tonight, I'm going to be talking all Eagles for the most part. You guys know what's going on with the baseball team. Nobody wants to talk about that at the moment, right? We're all out on baseball already. The Flyers, I don't know what they're doing. The Sixers on an NBA break, so life is okay over there. So I figured I'd go and get somebody who knows more about the Eagles than I do, and his name sounds like my name. BG and BLG. What's up, brother? Brandon Lee Gouton, Bleed Green Nation. What's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me. Yeah, definitely happy to be talking Eagles and not the other teams right now.
Sadly, that's kind of always the case with us as far as the Eagles are concerned. They're the ones saving everybody right now and all the time, and it's okay. We need them to keep, because they keep drama without all the extra drama. I know that people leak things out to the media throughout the season, but that whole thing with like Castellanos snowballing all at the end, it's people want to blame the media for that, but the corporations have to come and tell them that stuff. Someone has to go and leak them that information to get the ball rolling. It's not like they're like, oh, I'm going to hold on to this for a whole year until this happens.
And I'm a Casty guy, by the way, so it's been a tough, it's not an easy time for me, but that's all I can say.
Yeah, I too am a Casty guy, and
right.
I'm not going to cry that he's gone, but at the same time, being as a person who loves the city wants to be known as a tough city all the time, an honest city where say what you mean what you say. And there's a lot of people that don't like Jalen because of the quotisms, but Nick at least told you how he felt. He wore it on the sleeves. And sometimes in the locker room, you need a guy like that that'll just go out there and say it and question things. Sometimes was he a jerk to the media? Sure. But sometimes the media also can ask really dumb questions. And us at home are like, what are you doing? So,
To me, his flaws make him more likable in terms of like, he's like human. He's very authentic. I have a good friend, James Seltzer, always likes to say, athletes are human beings. I don't think anyone represents that better than Nick Castellanos, who is not Mr. Cliche and just says all the right things all the time, but literally just tells you exactly what is on his mind, for better or for worse sometimes. So I respect that, and I will miss that part about him.
Exactly. And now it'll be funny when they go out there and then they come here. But yeah, and then Bryce had his whole thing with Dombrowski had to talk about. I just can't see the Eagles having that kind of situation where you let a whole offseason go and you don't talk to the player. There was that one offseason with Jalen and Nick with the whole do they like each other thing. That was the closest to something like that you'd get, where somebody should have sat down and said, hey, the first thing they're going to ask you is, do you like the coach? Does the coach like you? So we usually don't have to worry about that stuff. Let's get started with who you keeping, who you letting go, who you paying in the offseason. The tight ends. Goddard. We don't have any tight ends right now. So are you re-signing Goddard? What do you want to do?
Yeah, like literally none under contract of consequence. You're talking about like EJ Jenkins here, with all due respect. They added another futures contract kind of guy, Jaheim Bell. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. Again, all due respect. But if they don't bring Dallas Goedert back, what do you have? What's the plan? And this was my whole thing last year, because there was a lot of talk, obviously, last offseason. Eagles, and that wasn't that they wanted to get rid of Goddard because they didn't like him as much as they just didn't want to pay him what he was due. And ultimately, he comes back on a pay cut. We saw that kind of happen with Josh Sweat the year prior. And I don't know if it's the same situation where, I think Josh Sweat left in part because he got, way more money than the Eagles were ever going to give him last year. But he also left in part because, he's like, this relationship has come to an end. Now, this team made me take a pay cut. I kind of don't want to be back here. I'm just going to move on. So Dallas Goedert, is that the same situation? I think it maybe could be, in the sense that a team might just pay him more than what the Eagles are going to offer him. And if you don't have him back, then, you have to sign someone basically at that point. And you probably should draft someone as well, because you want to have someone in the pipeline. And also you're going to use multiple tight ends. You're not going to, I don't think you're going to want to have Grant Capitera back. So, and if they do, then that's rough.
So this is long enough away. So do you know the Sweat situation? Do you know why Sweat took the money and stayed with the Eagles?
In 20, yeah. So this is after the 2023 season. Yeah, he takes the pay cut.
Yeah. He's in a relationship. The relationship is like, oh, I'll come visit you wherever, because their dad's like, you got to finish school. You're not gonna follow this man. I don't care how much money he makes. You're gonna finish school. You're not just gonna leave and follow him away. So he's like, oh, well, I really love you, and they're gonna give me something to stay, so I'll stay. And then the next year, it was too much money for love to make it work. Like, it's like, hey, I'll fly you out here on the weekends. Gotta go. So it's funny how like also relationships, like different things going on in your life, make you hang around for an extra year. So we got lucky with that, and he got lucky too, because we won a Super Bowl, and he got paid more money than he was going to take anyway. So it all worked out in that favor. But as far as the tight end is concerned, everyone's like, oh, we can draft a guy. We need more than one tight end.
Yeah. Also, rookie tight ends are not like, more often than not, are not like, oh, that guy's a stud. Definitely. Like that's not a real solution. If that's your only move, that's not a real solution.
And if that was the move last year, would have been the time to do it.
Yes.
I'm not really like a big scout guy, but I know last year there were a ton of tight ends. Yeah. I was thinking like, man, maybe you might snatch one here or there, because there were just so many, and there was a lot connected to the team through coaches and colleges and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't. So now you're at the point where it's like, drafting one means what? Okay, you draft one, I still need another one, and I still need a backup. So there's guys on the open market, but I just, the fact that Goddard actually had a full year and he was great the whole year, he can't. I don't know how you feel about his blocking right now. Do you feel like his blocking is like up to par? Like
I really didn't last year, which, maybe does that change once he gets paid? Like maybe he's like, all right, I'm back all in, and I'm not worried about getting hurt or something doing that. But it's tough, because I just think he's going to be one of the top tight ends on the market. Not the tight. There's some other good ones out there. Kyle Pitts, you got Isaiah Likely. There's options out there. But my point is, I just don't think he's going to give the Eagles like a friendly discount. I think that kind of goes out the window when you ask a player to take a pay cut, which he did. Part of in his contract, I think he had incentives. We don't know exactly what those were. It would help him get some of that money back. My conspiracy theory was that it was related to touchdowns, because as we know, they really like to go to him a lot in the end zone there. And the rest, and it worked. It was smart, but it seemed like especially intentional to get him a lot of touchdowns. I think that might have been tied in there. But yeah, I wonder. I don't think it's like, I do what's best for the team, as much as he's going to look out for him, and he should.
He definitely should. And his age is at the age where it's like, last year was such a weird year for Howie, because that's one situation where I feel like he normally, and the Eagles historically normally have the tight end successor, for good or for bad. There's someone younger on the horizon that we have hope in, that we believe in, that's coming and flashed. And this is a time where, man, the cupboard is really bare at tight end, which leads me to the next thing I'll talk about is the offensive lineman situation. I know you saw Jurgens posted, I think you reported on it. He was out there getting the stem cell rejuvenation out of the country, bubble bath treatment. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So where did T.O. go when he broke his leg? Was there like reported that he went to China and got stem cells or something? Do you remember?
I vaguely remember what you're talking about. I don't remember what that was.
Okay, I gotta look that up, because I don't know if that's like a meme thing in my brain.
I remember Kobe went to Germany, right?
Kobe went to Germany. Yes. Oh, see. Okay, good. Look, I love talking to an adult. Because I tried to tell somebody that too. I'm like, Kobe went to Germany. I'm pretty sure T.O. like he went to China. He went somewhere where you got get stem cells done, because they're not allowed to do stem cells here. Because he came back so fast on a broken leg and played the Super Bowl. So yeah, that okay. At least you remember the Kobe Germany thing. That's starts making me think I got conspiracies in my brain when something happened so long ago. But yeah,
and had a great game in that Super Bowl.
An amazing game. So wherever he did, whatever shaman he saw, it worked, because he came back and was just a beast and gave us everything. That's all I ever wanted growing up as a kid. Like, just get me wide receiver. Like I think I cried when we won the first Super Bowl. I cried when we got T.O. I was so happy to have Terrell Owens over Stinson and Trash. So that meant a lot to me. But anyway, back to Jurgens and going to get these stem cells. It's funny that you still got to leave the country pretty much to get any kind of this work done. It seems like a legit place. It's been open since 2017 or 2018.
You sleuthing on the background of this company?
Hey, look, man, I'm just saying, first of all, hey, what if I need a new knee or hip? You know what I mean? I'm a little overweight. You know what I mean? What if your boy blow a spare tire out here, BLG? I might need to go where the pros go. And secondly, yes, just to, because when you know how it is, like I said, when you hear the things that we're talking about, like back in the day, it almost sounds like conspiracy, because you think, why doesn't everybody do that? Why isn't everybody going down to a company that can help you with injuries? And, you know, it seems like maybe he's promoting it. They've got some kind of deal going because it's like,
gets
like
a discount.
Yeah. Seemed like, that's what seemed like. Seemed like an influencer ad he was giving out. I'm sipping mimosas to get my back rejuvenated and turn on into a transformer. You can come too. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. So yes, I checked into it, trying to make sure it's legit. So it seems as such. But it also seems like something that the team didn't ask him to do, something he wanted to do. So hopefully he's better. I don't know how he made the Pro Bowl this year. That's how did,
no one
did
does.
you get a vote for that? Who's voting for that? What's going on?
I don't think, like, if you polled his teammates and they were answering honestly, obviously, like if they knew he was going to know about it, but like, I think like you anonymously polled his teammates, I don't think they and that's not even, no one's trying to hate on him. It's just like he didn't have nearly anything like a Pro Bowl year. No one's saying cut him dead, like, or maybe you are, but I'm not. You don't have to say that to say he didn't have a Pro Bowl year last year. Crazy. I mean, especially too, like we literally saw Brett Toth come in. Brett Toth, who is not some established player, but I think did solid as a backup. Like Brett Toth came in, and the running game looked really good with him in that one game against the Giants. And now, given it's the Giants, but still, like the fact that his backup looks so much better speaks to the fact like Jurgens was not very good last year. And this is the thing, like. I think this is one of the more challenging things when you go into an offseason and sorry, James Bradbury, but my example here, like when you had James Bradbury in 2023 and he was terrible, everyone in the world knows you need to move on from James Bradbury, right? There's no argument about that. So it's kind of nice in a way. It's a problem, but it's a problem you need to address. Where Cam Jurgens, it's like you're not going to just cut him, right? So you're like, okay, he's got to be here. We just paid him last year, but are we just like hoping he gets better? Because then what's the plan if he doesn't? Like how and if to what extent do you invest in a contingency plan? Because he can't like be drafting a center in round 2. I would guess. I guess something like that is too early if he's just going to be blocked by Cam Jurgens in the event he does get healthy and he bounces back. So I think that's like one of the trickier problems when you can have is when you pay a young guy like that. He has a year down here like he did last year. You're hoping he gets healthy. It's a back thing, man. And like, or at least he had a back injury last offseason. He's had other injuries. And those are injuries that like don't just always necessarily get better, especially as you're getting older too. So that's a tough one. I'm
gonna give the entire offensive line a mulligan for last year. I'm taking everything off the block. One, because I gotta back of my mind, I gotta worry about Lane retiring. Now I gotta worry about Dickerson retiring. Cam had the year that he had. Jordan had the year that he had. I'll mention it now because it's like, again, outside of baseball, I saw Jordan like through the middle of the season, and he was just like, man, my foot is killing me. And I'm like, well, you're not on injury report. He's like, dude, I'm hurt, but there's no point in putting on injury report. Like, then they'll just attack what's wrong with me. Like, I got to, you know what I mean? These guys are out here dealing with real stuff on the line. He's like, my thing is, it's injury. Everybody's playing hurt. It is what it is.
Everyone could be on the injury report, basically.
Yes. And so I'm sitting there watching them get wrecked last year, and I'm thinking, man, the whole line got wrecked. One, they also rushed for 2,000 yards. So injuries aside, they have the same wear and tear that you want to attribute to running backs and why they don't ever have the same year the next year, because those guys are pushing down the field to get you those 2,000 yards. Secondly, I got the Stoutland Nick KP situation that, again, wasn't leaked. When everybody wanted to leak stuff about Jalen not wanting to run the ball and him taking the team and having it over a barrel, nobody was leaking that there was a war of attrition at my offensive line position. So who was coaching the line? Who had control of the line? Who was calling all the plays? How were the plays being called? How were the guys being used? How were they practicing? What were they being taught that was different from what Stoutland wanted to do versus what they wanted to do? And was there discombobulation and all that? So with all of those things and the fear in my heart for like not one of these guys to just retire on me because we can't replace them all at one time, I'm going to give everybody a mulligan. And if I'm Howie, I'm like, look, I will like give you like $3 extra million. Just no one use the word retire this year, because we do need to also draft a lineman or two. And now we're doing it without Stoutland, which is one of the bigger things for me. If you want to change the running style, you're going to change the offense, you're going to do all that, that's fine. But I've known Stoutland to be a guy who develops guys. Not every guy can be developed. You always got a Dillard or somebody like that in the mix. But for the most part, he took a guy who never played football in his life and made him one of the best tackles in the game. So what are your thoughts about him not being there as far as the development goes when we do start bringing in younger guys again?
I was going to ask, are you giving Jeff Stoutland a mulligan? Because the Eagles don't seem to be.
And don't. That's wild to me. Mm-hmm. He's been here through like 9 regimes, and he's been able to adapt from Chip Kelly to Peterson to whoever, his style of play. So I don't know why. I feel like he got in a power struggle with Nick. He felt slighted, like, bro, I've been here over a decade, and they're letting you run things in my department. Okay, let's see how that works out. And then a little bit of pride gets involved there.
They wanted him back. It's not like they fired him, but they clearly were going to bring him back in a way where he was effectively demoted. So, you have to, if you're the team, you have to go into that with your eyes wide open about, like, he might not be happy about this. Like, it's not just like, oh, what a shock. He didn't want to be here anymore after we're changing it up on him and basically taking what it sounds like taking away the run game coordinator title from him. And by the way, based on the other reporting we saw from ESPN, Tim McManus, he talked about, this was a change made last season. And if you look at the evidence of it all in terms of like when they started to shift their run game in a more drastic way and get away from some more of the Stoutland staples here, it was around like week 7. Week 7. Think about that. You just won the Super Bowl not only did you win the Super Bowl the season prior, you did it on the strength of Jeff Stoutland and his run game and that offensive line. And oh, by the way, the other Super Bowl you won in no small part because you had the best offensive line in the NFL, even though you were starting a backup left tackle, Big V, in that game, and a backup quarterback, mind you. But you had the support of that line to make it smooth for the quarterback and iron everything out. It's just crazy to me. I think people have really kind of like, I think a lot of people are upset, and I'm not going to dismiss that. It's hard to, take what you see on the internet or whatever, or WIP or anything and extrapolate that. But I do sense there's like a decent sentiment of like, well, it's actually not that important that we're moving on from Jeff Stoutland because we're going to go to this new scheme, and the new scheme is what matters the most. And like, I'm all for new ideas. This offense clearly needs some of those.
Yeah.
No argument there. But like, I think when you gloss over the fact that so you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth with this when Jeff Stoutland. You can't be one of these people in years past who are like, Stoutland's the best, Stoutland University, he's awesome, and then say it's no big deal when he's gone. And he not only is he gone, he wanted to leave. Like, that's not a minor thing. It doesn't mean they can't overcome it. Like, maybe they draft good offensive linemen. And Howie's been around Stoutland so long, he kind of knows, what prospects to look for. But if you don't have the right guy to develop him, like you were saying here, like, it might not matter fully. So, I mean, I think that's a massive loss, and almost not being like fully appreciated how big of a loss that is.
That really is my main concern with that. Again, like you said, you've got your scouts, all those people that are there, know what kind of tough, gritty, hard-nosed, all the stuff the cliches you throw out there, what you're looking at, and character. And they've got Big Dom to do their background research. You can find a great guy, but those guys also need to be coached up and they need to be developed. And that's just, like I said, to bring the whole thing back, that's my biggest worry about that with Stoutland. And the fact that was just mismanaged is driving me crazy because he's been here through so many different personalities. And this is the one that like gets it where he's like, he can't be here anymore. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you can't talk about the man the way you talk about him, and the players talk about him.
Yes.
And now I've got to worry about guys wanting to retire. Again, Lane his time was coming soon enough, but Dickerson's really young. And I know guys are injured, but like, my goodness. Whoa, can we just give me some, at least they're giving us a heads up that it might happen. but there's only so many linemen you can draft every year. Now we're going to be behind the 8 ball with that. So we'll see what happens. What's somebody saying here? Vic Fangio's. Let me put this on the screen. Vic Fangio is overrated.
No, I mean I'm going to have to disagree there.
So you watched Super Bowl. What are your thoughts on the Super Bowl, real quick?
This Super Bowl? Or
yeah.
The Eagles Super Bowl? Boring. Number one, definitely a boring game. Seahawks deserved it. They're an awesome team. They lost something like 3 games by a combined score of 9 points this year. They were like number 1 in point differential, number 1 DVOA, any kind of thing. Like they were just like the best team. They were great. I was a big fan. I wasn't a big fan. Let's reframe that. I didn't hate when they traded Geno last offseason. I was about that. I was like, I don't really think they have this high ceiling with Geno. Like I'm okay with them taking a chance on someone else. I didn't love that they're pivoting to Sam Darnold, but I did like they were taking a chance on someone who wasn't Geno. And I think a lot of people at the time were like, "Oh, how could you trade Geno?" I'm like, what did they win with Geno? They're not winning anything with Geno. What did Geno do this year? He was the quarterback of the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, Snyder is a good GM, just like Howie. Made a lot of good moves. I think that coach is really good. I think Mike McDonald is really good. You've seen the Ravens have fallen off, certainly defensively, especially too, since he's left them. I think they're a really good team. They deserve it.
I think they're a really good team. I think they're a real side team. I also agree. It was one of those boring Super Bowls that I've ever seen in my life. I would have been happy giving the MVP to the kicker. I also didn't like Walker taking his quarterback to Disney World with him. Like it was some kind of dinner date. Like I just go by yourself. You're Super Bowl MVP. I'm going to Disneyland. Dude, you don't talk. You're a free agent. Go get your money. You don't need to have somebody there with you sitting in that teacup. It was just funny to me that worked out. Not that that's a big deal. But the team also played, one of the luckiest teams in NFL history.
Easily.
And it bore out. I mean, Drake Mayo was scared from the 2 weeks out going to that game. He was like, you can see the sadness in his face. Every time he looked up, like he had no confidence. It looked like he had lost the last 3 games as opposed to being on a winning streak going to Super Bowl. And that's the youth. That's the second year. That's what Tom Brady looked like in his first Super Bowl when everybody forgets that the first 3 he threw like under 200 yards, 50% completions, one touchdown, and Tom Brady's go. No, Tom Brady was scared to death and was carried by his defense to victory. And that's what this was. Sam Darnold was 25 touchdowns, 25 interceptions going into postseason. He caught heat. The team played well. Can't take anything away from them, but they played a young and scared team that was not ready to be there, and they demolished them in a way that the Eagles do. The defense was smothering, but I personally, when people say, "Oh, this team's better," I'm like, we went against the new GOAT, whatever you want to call him. We went against the greatest or second greatest quarterback that ever lived, and we did that to them. You did that to a second-year quarterback who we don't know he's going to be. There is a difference in that. And the Eagles defense didn't have to blitz at all. So talk about Vic Fangio. I can't say he's overrated because the archetype of what they want has been the Vic Fangio system. We're moving into the Shanahan system. Everybody wants the Shanahan-McVay tree. Fangio has disciples in this league that do well. And so we got the king of that, and it helped us win the Super Bowl. So I can't either say he's overrated at all. I also didn't want him to retire. I'm like, bro, come on. Relax. I know you're old. I know you're stressful, but you got all the dogs. We got all the dogs you want on the team. Speaking of those dogs, let's talk about the defense. Nakobe. Blankenship. God, there's so many. Who else is out there? Phillips. Is it Jomo? No, Jomo's on a contract. Well, Brandon, I don't know what Brandon's going to do. And Uche.
BG said he wants to be back if they'll have him.
Okay, so BG will be back. What do you think about Nakobe Dean? We're a linebacker factory now. We were a QB factory. Yeah. Now we're a linebacker factory.
I mean, like, if the salary cap weren't a real thing, you absolutely keep Nakobe Dean. But like it is. So I just don't think you can. Maybe his market isn't that good, but that would, depend on him obviously hitting free agency, seeing what's out there. Maybe he's not getting offers, but I think it will be. I mean, he's played really well when obviously he's been healthy and at the top of his game. And linebacker play around the league is not like so great that other teams are just loaded and we're like, oh yeah, we don't even need Nakobe Dean. A ton of teams, I'm sure, would love to have Nakobe Dean. So I think it's like it sucks that you're gonna have to lose him because he is such a everyone loves him. He's an important vocal leader of that defense in the locker room. But like you drafted Jahad Campbell last year, and he played, I thought, well overall. I made some rookie mistakes for sure. Isn't perfect, but is a specimen too. Like just his physical tools, incredible. Really young too as well. I think he's going to get better. And then Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Didn't get to play a lot, obviously, but like he took all basically the bulk of the first team reps in training camp last year, and he had a really good training camp. He didn't lose the starting job because he was bad. He lost it because John Campbell was even better, and he was a first round pick. To me, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. can kind of give you a lot of what Nakobe Dean can, and he's probably not going to get a chance to do that because it's going to be probably Campbell and Bond as the starters. But I'm saying that if someone gets hurt or Campbell struggles, then you have Jeremiah Trotter Jr. there. So it's unfortunate, but I think just Nakobe is gone.
And I feel like right now at the linebacker position, we're in the position that we used to be for tight ends. We've got established guy. We got Bond. That's the guy that, oh man, we shouldn't even have paid him because we got to draft Campbell and we've got Dean. Somebody's got to go. And I believe in Trotter a lot too. People didn't see he was flashing very well. I feel as though you have Campbell and Bond in, and then when Bond's contract's up, they're going to let Bond go and elevate Trot. I feel like that might be the progression that goes because the money follows that suit too. You're getting him younger and cheaper. And when you give him that first deal, since he's a backup, you won't have to go over as far as the linebacker is concerned. So my favorite thing is the hometown discount. I'm like, I know that he's on a team with his Georgia Bulldog brothers. And unless all of them were going to go and say, we're all going to take 5% less each so we can all stay together, that's not going to happen.
No.
It's not going to happen.
I don't
Somebody's
think people
agent won't
who
let it happen.
Want that to happen wouldn't do that themselves. Would you do that like in your life? Would most people do that? I don't think most people would do that. If the money's like way different, if we're talking about, small potatoes here, sure. But that's not the case. This is like life-changing money.
Especially if Dean stayed here and took that money, his guaranteed money is not going to be crazy. But if he went somewhere else, the guaranteed money is going to be crazy. Mm-hmm. So that's when it is life-changing money, especially for somebody who's been injured a lot. Like I said, like you said, when he comes back in, he impressed all of us. I thought last year, I was like, oh, he's going to come back early and we're going to trade him at the deadline. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, the way he's talking, I feel like he's going to come back. He'll flash like he does, and then we're going to trade him. And he came back and he flashed so good, they couldn't get rid of him. They're like, oh, shoot, we got to keep this kid around for the year because he really came back and was setting the tone where Campbell was filling the position and doing a much better job in coverage. Mm-hmm. He wasn't making those explosive hits. Campbell's somebody who that one wheel route, I forget what wide receiver got around him. And everyone's like, oh my God. Like, you're not realizing that Campbell was a step and a half behind him, 60 yards down the field.
Yeah.
Like, that was a wide receiver that outran him, but he was, I don't know who was wide receiver, but you know what play I'm talking about, right?
I was thinking it was the Bucks game, and I don't know if it was Bucky Irving or a wide receiver, but it was a broken play too.
Yes.
We're not talking about like in the progression, like, okay, it's Baker Mayfield. He's gonna make a play with his legs and extend a play and make something shake. Like, to your point, the fact that he's even close, like a lot of linebackers aren't even in the realm of that play.
Yeah, that's when you get blown up and it's like, man, he's wide open. Where did the defender go? And you look back and it was a linebacker. No, he was right there and he even dove and gave effort. So him in coverage is going to be amazing. So I don't think Dean's going to be here. I just hope that he doesn't go down the street to Dallas or anything.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with even Dallas Goedert. Like certain teams like in the division now lately, because now we've got to worry about the Giants.
Yep.
What do you think about Blankenship?
I think Reed's a guy who they would like to have back, and I don't think is going to get a crazy payday. But I could be wrong about that. Sometimes, like, I didn't think DeAndre Swift was going to be the first free agent signed, which he was that year after he left the Eagles to go to the Bears, and he got a huge contract. Like, I didn't see that. So sometimes you just don't know, and the players really go after – our teams really go after a player, and obviously now the Cowboys have Christian Parker. Maybe, they're like, hey, let's bring in Reed Blankenship. He's going to help run this defense, and they need help in the secondary. So it's possible. All it takes is one team. But I just think that, like, Reed is the kind of guy who I think would leave a little bit of money on the table if it's close, and because he's grown up in here. He's obviously tight with his boy Coop. They got the podcast and everything. Are you able to keep that going if he goes to the Cowboys? I don't know. I think it's possible that Reed is affordable for them, and they might be able to keep him. And let's say you don't. Let's say the Eagles. I know a lot of people also don't like Reed Blankenship. Like,
I think he's fine. I think F's played well. Makuba Scuba, they got other young guys coming up. But my thing about Reed is he's always there for that. I just got a free interception. There's no way I'm dropping this ball pick. And he's good for those like 4 or 5 times a season, like seal games. He's always in the right place at the right time. Yep. He's the only one that's consistently over the last like 4 or 5 years that gets you your little 3, 4, 5 picks a season. Just in the same way too. He's always like lurking back there and his eyes are up. So the turnovers alone, like, man, if we lost him, who's getting interceptions? Because nobody throws at Quinion. You know what I mean? And Coop's not even getting those balls thrown at him anymore. Like, people are scared of that side of the ball. So I don't know. If he can stay and I can get him on a deal, which again, what you said, his numbers aren't crazy. His leadership is good. So I would like to get him back for the right price.
Yep.
I think Phillips is going to be gone. Jim Phillips. I think somebody's going to offer him enough money. I saw the Dolphins let go of their other leading edge rusher, who is better than Phillips, I believe.
Bradley Chubb. Yep.
Yeah. So there's a lot of guys hitting the market. What somebody said earlier? Oh, what are your thoughts on Max Crosby? I know it's on everybody's wish list now that you can't do Myles Garrett.
Hard not to get fired up after you watch Max Crosby talk about how much he would love to play for a team like Philadelphia. That clip that was going around. Yeah. But I just don't think they can afford him from a standpoint of like the priority is gonna be paying their players. Like that's their first and foremost focus here. Like, what do we do with Jalen Carter? What do we do with do we even pay more Ojimo? Can we do that? Because we also have Jordan Davis, who I think they're going to try to pay this offseason.
Jordan Davis has to get paid this year.
Yeah.
Carter, I think they're going to wait, which normally Howie doesn't like to. But to what you're saying, right. I think there's a lot of spots that need to get paid. And he's going to be like, look, if I just pay all these guys now and tie them up, then I'll just have to bite the bullet a little bit more with one big player next year. Is how I feel like it might go. The cap is up like an extra 30 million, but so yeah, I'm trying to keep Reed if possible. On the line, it's Fred Johnson, Toth, and Pryor that are. I guess you try to keep Toth for cheap and Fred. Like, again, we don't. You got to try to keep him because you don't know what's going on with everything else.
I think Fred wants to play somewhere else. He thinks he is a starter. So I think he's going to try to go somewhere where he, at least in theory, can start and isn't, blocked by, assuming Lane Johnson's back. Obviously, if Lane's not here, different story.
Yeah. I hate this. The line is terrible. It's a terrible situation.
There's a lot of big decisions, man. This whole team, this team is in a weird spot right now. When you think about big picture, they could be losing a lot of players. And that doesn't mean that it's a bad thing because they could also, replace them and get better. They certainly weren't a good offense last year, but a lot of key players could be gone. And if they don't get it right, still, it could be a little, feels like we're at an inflection point.
So what are your thoughts on AJ?
I want AJ, let's be clear, I'm looking into the camera. I want AJ Brown to be on the Eagles next year. So I get a lot of hate. A lot of people are like, oh, you hate AJ. So negative. I don't hate AJ. I really don't. I've really been one of the more positive people on him. However, just because I say that does not mean that I have to believe he's going to be on the team next year based on everything we have seen, based on everything we've even reported at Bleeding Green Nation, where AJ asked for a trade out of Philadelphia multiple times last year, as early as after the Week 3 game. They were 3-0. They just won the Super Bowl. They beat the Rams, and he still won it out after that point in time. And that lines up with what you saw him saying publicly. He was very displeased, even though they won that game, because of how the offense was going. I don't think the Eagles necessarily want to get rid of A.J. Brown, But none of that matters if AJ Brown does not want to be here. Like, and I think that's just what we have been seeing. I don't think he wants to be playing for the Eagles. And that's really unfortunate. And I don't take any pleasure in saying that, but like that's the reality we're looking at. And just because he had that interview in the Super Bowl does not change my mind about anything. I mean, we saw way too much last year, and he didn't say, "I hate Kevin Patullo. Let's get Kevin Patullo fired. Bring in Sean Mannion, and everything is good." That is not the reality of the situation that I think we're looking at. I think AJ, very unfortunately, wants to be gone. And when you have a player like that, when they're just like, "I don't want to be here anymore," like, I don't know how I'm sure the Eagles have tried to convince him. I just don't think they're getting to that point where he wants to be here. And I think they're going to have to trade him.
So I was on a show, Trending in the AM, with buddy Phil yesterday morning. And I told a good story, so I'm going to tell it to you too. I was on Instagram one time, and there was this beautiful woman, gorgeous, and she was crying. And normally I scroll past that, but she was so gorgeous. I'm like, what has got this woman upset? And basically it was, I was married to a husband who went out and worked hard every day, took me on 3 trips a year, just the greatest man ever, just romantic, Valentine's Day, birthday. He didn't forget anything. He always took care of me, but I always felt like something was wrong. And today I finally got my divorce papers, and I feel so free. I don't know what was holding me back, but now I feel free. And I tell you, I clicked follow, I clicked save, and I waited. And like a year later, one of those gorgeous women, supermodel chicks you could ever see, is crying again like, I don't know what I had. I can't believe that now I'm alone and the dating scene is like this and these men just treat you any old kind of way. And I'm just like, you had every single thing that any woman would want. And there was nothing wrong with the guy. You even said that he was just a good human being, and that wasn't good enough for you. That's AJ Brown. You are the top dog on the Eagles. You're breaking records. You're now a Super Bowl champion. And 30 seconds after the Super Bowl championship, you're like, meh, I don't know. Okay. So no matter what happens, we could go open up the year 16-0. He still might not be happy. He still might not be content. He still might be causing issues or having issue with the offense. So with that, I love you, AJ, but I can't have that. I can't have that shadow hanging over my head. And we were talking about money and the cap hit and all that kind of stuff. You know, that's where the fantasies of trade them to the Raiders and swap that. That's not how that works. It's not how any of it works, as much as we dream about it. But I do still believe that moving him might free up the team emotionally. And it's not because he's a bad guy. It's not because he doesn't even want to be here. I feel like he's like that woman who doesn't know what happiness really means to him. And that's going to happen no matter where he goes at any moment, because in the league, there's your personal accolades and you trying to get into the Hall of Fame. And there's one way to do it. Hey, I want to be a 3-time Super Bowl champion. That's how I'm going to get in the Hall. I want 47 touchdowns a year. That's how I'm going to get, like, so he seems now he's on an individual track to what he needs and what he wants. And to be fair, BLG, he looks across from him and says, I already am losing to my running mate. National champion, Heisman winner, Super Bowl champion. Like, he's looking at a dude that's got all kinds. He could quit today. Smitty's going to Hall of Fame. Right? Like, just on those actors, he's one of how many guys that have all 3 of those? You know? So I feel like that's something that is in AJ's heart of like, man, I need more accolades. I need more personal, and I can't do it here.
I think getting inside the mind of AJ Brown is very I think it's tricky. I do. I think he's a very unique individual in that like, I think a lot of the things that we traditionally associate with success, kind of like we were touching on here, don't necessarily, and I think he's discovering that, don't necessarily equate that to him. I mean, he kind of even said as much right after the Super Bowl last year. He said like he thought, you know, this would make him happy, being on top of the world. But I think and what he said basically to some effect was like, it's the grind, like it's the process of getting there. And I think part of that is going out, and again, I'm kind of keep referencing what he was saying. He likes to go out and dominate his competition. He likes how that feels. And how the Eagles play football does not really, it's not conducive to that kind of what he wants from that. So I don't think it's directly just about like, oh, I had 150, I had a great game. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's like the feeling of it. I think it's like the feeling that I went out against like high level competition and they couldn't stop me. I'm unstoppable. I think that's like what he is chasing, and I feel like he doesn't necessarily feel like he gets that out of this anymore. And it creates an environment where it's sad to see that he looks like really emotionally uninvested. It leads to him, I think, playing some of his worst football. Like the playoff game, he was bad. He was like really bad in that game. And not in a way where like I think AJ Brown's going to drop passes like he did in that game the rest of his career.
Yeah.
But you saw it. You saw the low end of what it looks like when he's really frustrated and he's in his head. And this whole season's been weighing on him. So I almost think it's not good for his mental health if he's back here, because I think he just is really in a bad spot and kind of needs a fresh start just from a mental perspective.
Yeah, I agree with that. And again, I love AJ Brown. AJ Brown is always open. Glad he was on the team, glad he's a part of the team. But there are just some relationships need to change faster than others. It's the same thing like with the Nick Castellanos thing. Apparently he never wanted to be here. The first 2 or 3 years we accepted it. We loved him because he was coming up big and clutch, and the whole team was. But things go bad. Certain guys, it's like, man, you're not a bad guy, but it's a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
And the AJ thing after Jeffrey came down from on high, they had that conversation on the field. He has fixed the ship again, but he's always been kind of straightforward with that. When he called the radio station after they were talking about him a little bit, again, never saying he didn't want to be here. Other people infer things in the way his behavior is, but he personally has never said it. And he continued that into the Super Bowl Radio Row, where he said, again, I never said I didn't want to be here. He's saying all the right things, but I just know emotionally things could get to him. And the Eagles' mindset in general under Nick Sirianni is win any way possible.
Mm-hmm.
I know Nick wants to air it out too because he's a video game caller, but at the same time, when they were running the ball and they couldn't stop the run, he accepted that too. Whereas AJ really does want to dominate. He does have a gladiator mindset and a killer mentality, and that is a lot of things you want in all your athletes. So again, no problem with it. That is what that is.
Yeah, last thing I want to say on that is just like it's not that AJ hates Philadelphia. He doesn't want to be here because he hates Philly or hates that's not the case at all. I think he'll say that. Like he loves it. He loves the fans. He loves that. It's just really the football part of it all. I think that is really what is upsetting him.
Yeah. So I will try not. Well, I'll do it. I'll say it on my part. Our new coach Minion and all the Minion disciples. I call him Minion until he shows me he knows how to coach, and then I will upgrade him to Manion. But when I say Minion, I can't stop myself from saying it. You're more of a professional. I'm just saying I'm the one out here. Oh my God, Minion, not you.
I like it. Yeah, I think it's fair.
So how do you feel about that hire and all the subsequent hires that seem to be under the Minion tree and not attached to Nick Sirianni at all?
I think anyone's lying if they're telling you what they know about this. Actually, there's so much we don't know. There's so much information here that we're just flying blind, and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It could be a good thing, right? I like that he's not tied to Nick Sirianni. I do like that. I think, again, we talked about it earlier. New ideas. They do need some of that. I think that's inarguable. Does Sean Mannion have the right ideas? Maybe. I don't know how we know that. I think there's certain things you look at in terms of the coaches he's worked with throughout his career, not just coaching very briefly, mind you. 2 years. That's crazy. 2 years coaching. 2.
Yeah.
And 1 year as like a position coach. The other like a nebulous assistant title, which we don't even know what he was doing in that role. But as a backup quarterback, was certainly around a lot of the Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, what are considered to be the top NFL minds. The problem with that though is like you just talked about it earlier and we always talk about this with Vic Fangio, right? It's like the Vic Fangio disciple is not the real thing as Vic Fangio. That doesn't mean Sean Mannion can't be good, but hiring him does not mean the Eagles now have the next Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan or Matt LaFleur or whatever. It's so much unknown. I like the risk they took at the point of where they were, the offensive coordinator search. Obviously, I would have loved them to get Mike McDaniel, someone more proven. I wasn't as keen on Dable from the standpoint of he had ties to Sirianni and Jalen. And I think that's actually kind of a negative. Like, again, we need some new ideas here. We don't need more familiarity. So it's a swing. it's a risk. It's kind of you're flying blind a little bit. So I like the risk. I think it's a risk worth taking, but it could go really bad. It could go really well. It could go really bad. They've made some hires since then, which okay, I think Josh Grizzard getting him in here, I think that's a nice move. Kind of had a bad situation with the Bucks last year. Was on a good trajectory before that. The quarterbacks coach thing's weird to me. They just hired Parks Frazier this week, or not hired, reassigned him. That's a weird one to me when he doesn't have a lot of experience doing that. When he's a Nick Sirianni guy too, it feels a little weird to me. I don't think it's quite identical to 2020 when they had that weird situation where they had an offensive coordinator search. They didn't even hire anyone. They just made Press Taylor the de facto offensive coordinator. Yeah. They brought in Rich Scangarello because he knows Kyle Shanahan. Certainly that's good enough for us. And that clearly was not good enough for the 2020 Eagles. So it does feel a little bit patched together in a weird way to me. That makes me think back to that. But let's be real. So I know I'm going long here, and I'm sorry about that. But we can focus on the offensive coordinator. That is obviously a big part of it. All this, it's not the only part. They have to set up Sean Mannion with success in terms of Howie. Howie has, and I'm very confident Howie can do this. But we just talked about all these offseason moves and the offensive. There's a lot of moving parts here. If they don't get that right, it doesn't matter if Sean Mannion is great. If they don't get those key parts right, so a lot of it's not even necessarily up to him. He has a tall task in front of him, and I'm intrigued. I'm going to give him. I'm going into it with an open mind, but at the end of the day, too, if he stinks and Sirianni doesn't have answers after the fact, I mean. What are we talking about here? And that's obviously one of my big gripes from last season is the fact that Nick didn't have answers when it came time to have answers. And Kevin Patullo got held responsible ultimately, and that's fine. That's fair. But when the head coach doesn't have answers, which I think he clearly didn't, I mean, we're going to have to look at him some point too.
So real quick, I'll bring back the Nick Sirianni not having answers thing, and I'll just say this as far as my part of it. I'd be a hypocrite if I didn't say I didn't have a lot of hope and belief in the new offensive hires, because all last year I kept saying anyone's 7th grade nephew could call better plays than Kevin Patullo and Nick Sirianni. When Nick Sirianni was calling the plays, he literally hit the run button 6 times in a row. He called a game where he didn't run one play to Dallas Goedert. He called a game where he forgot to run the ball in the second half. And when somebody asked me, he's like, I didn't run the ball? No. So you're just sitting there spamming X the whole game, forgetting that you got an all-world tight end. He can't focus and call plays at the same time. And KP wasn't that bad. But again, I'm nobody. I'm sitting on my couch, run, pass, dump off. I already know what's coming, and I can see it. And I'm nobody. You know what I mean? I watch all 22s. I'm like Fran Duffy on slow tape. I can see it, but I don't know it. You know what I mean? But even watching the games, it's man alive, this is bad. So when I say a 7th grader called better plays, I assume the Minion team already have a step above what I had to deal with last year. So I have hope going forward for that. And as far as Nick's concerned, that is one of the biggest things for me.
Yeah.
I'm coming in. I'm helping the team. I'm going to step in and start being a part of the offense. Why didn't you run Tank Bigsby? Again, every person on the couch said run him, and you didn't run him because you didn't want to hurt Saquon's feelings. Well, again, Saquon's legs, the offensive line's legs. Bigsby had pop. You can see it with your eyes. Yeah. Is Tank Bigsby better than Saquon Barkley? No. But if you're going to go in and help the offense, do what everybody else can see, because once you finally did it, we're like, well, what have you been waiting for? Now it's too late. Secondly, on the last play of the game, Jalen said, you want to run that? He looks to you. Mm-hmm. You look off to McKee. McKee looks back at you, and then you look up to the sky. You can't even look either quarterback in the eyes. You're on the sideline. You looked at Jalen. You looked at Tanner, and then you went like this. You had no answer. You had no help. You just said run 4. Again, that's what Madden suggests you call. And so what are you out there for? What do you do? Because you lose in the locker room when everybody's out here dry snitching on the quarterback, on each other. So you're not keeping the kumbaya stuff detailed together. So many penalties last year. Mm-hmm. So I hate the fact that I don't know who to blame. Like I said, I can't blame Stoutland. All his power was taken away. So anything you want to complain about the run game, that's on Nick Sirianni and Kevin Patullo. See how that works? Offense, they put it on KP. Yeah, but Nick said he was going in there to help with like 4 or 5 weeks left in the season. Where was the help? Now it's going to be, so what if this guy comes in here, BLG, and we have record passing numbers and yards and Jalen Hurts is going nuclear.
Right.
And this guy's going to get interviews for a head coaching job.
Yeah.
So what do? You let him walk like you do everybody else? And now you're searching again because Nick, what does he do that somebody else can't do with this kind of roster? And it puts us in such a bad position because, again, quarterbacks aren't winning stats. Well, then why is Tom Brady the greatest of all time? Because we talked about it earlier. His first 3 Super Bowls, he did absolutely nothing to deserve that accolade. And once he became Tom Brady, the past doesn't matter anymore. Well, Jalen Hurts isn't that great. Well, in the greatest moments, he is the greatest quarterback that's ever played a Super Bowl. He's ranked up there with the rankings. Like, even in a loss, he outdid your Patrick Mahomes. Like, so what do you do with that? Who am I giving credit to? Who do I take it away to? How does Nick keep his job? If they do poorly, he's getting fired. If they do well, how much credit can you actually give him? It's such a weird position for the Eagles to be in.
It's a good problem to have if you're in the spot where Sean Mannion is getting head coaching interviews for sure. Like I think that I don't know that they've won the Super Bowl guaranteed, but something good has happened. Obviously, if that's the case. But you're right. Like, what do you do at that point? And I would be shocked if they fired Nick, but I think they, like, in terms of what they should do and versus what they would do. Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely. It's not even just what does he do to me. It's what does he do well. Like that's my biggest issue. I genuinely don't have confidence when I go into a game, like when we're going into a matchup, I'm thinking about what do I believe in about what's going to help the Eagles win this game. Like I don't have confidence in Nick. And is that unfair? Because he's won so much. Maybe it is at some level. I do think he had a good Super Bowl in the second Super Bowl, the one they won, to be clear. Like, I think he had a good game in that Super Bowl. But let's be real. I mean, like, we all know who's doing the heavy lifting here. Last year, they didn't score, not even score a point. They didn't complete a pass in the second half of their 2 games last year. And they won both of those games. That's insane. It speaks to how good Vic Fangio's defense, not overrated Vic Fangio, very properly rated Vic Fangio. Shout out to Andre in the chat. Like, that's how good that defense is. They've carried so much weight. And imagine if you didn't have that. Imagine it's almost like, from a thought experiment standpoint, I almost did want to see Vic Fangio retire this offseason from a standpoint of like, let's see what it looks like, Nick, when you don't have the defense like that to rely on, and you actually have to do more of the responsibility there. So it's tough, man. I think it's a weird thing that the Eagles are with Howie and Lurie. They're not going to have a head coach again, or at least I will believe it when I see it, who kind of has the say and the power that some of these head coaches have, because they want that power. And it's worked out well for them. Why would they change that? They won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different coaches. And that's why, funny, like a big picture conversation here, I feel confident in the Eagles, like in the long term, as much as I don't feel so much confident in this, like whatever this era is right now that might be coming to a close, because we've seen them do it with multiple coaches and quarterbacks. If they need to pivot away from Jalen and Nick, I'm not saying, or at least one of them, I'm not saying, oh, they're screwed. They can't possibly get this right. I'm saying they can get it right. I've seen them do it before. But again, that doesn't mean I feel good about where we are right now with the current setup. And I don't have a lot of confidence in Nick. And I would love to see something that changes my mind on that. But until I do, that's where I am.
So 2 things about that. One, I'll come back and ask you if you think that we should extend Jalen early. But to the coming around to a part, I feel like if they got rid of Nick and Jalen and they got me right back into a steady winning the conference level play within 2 years, I'd be like, we could do this for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Turn them. Turn the head coach and quarterback.
It's Green Bay has done a thing where they just know how to get their quarterback. For good or bad, they're going to get a guy who's going to come in for 15 years and win them 1 championship and multiple MVPs.
Yep.
I assume Jordan Love at some point will sneak through and get one Super Bowl for them. He'll play long enough, and then he'll live long enough to see his replacement come in. They've got their system dialed in for that. If nothing else, they find their generational quarterback, and the Eagles are in that position now where it's like, okay, you had the Nick Foles and the Peterson run. You flip that into Nick and Jalen. You went 2 times. If you flip that again, and the team is good enough to get, like I said, they're not doing the Super Bowl, but get me to a conference championship within the first 2 or 3 years, and I will believe for the rest of my life that they've got it down to where they know what they need to do to get back into it. And a lot of that does have to come with getting your quarterback extra cheap. You know, to Jalen's credit, when he signed the deal, he said, look, I don't want to be the highest paid quarterback. I want to be able to sign my guys. And he wouldn't sign his deal until his agent explained to him, hey, I worked with Howie on the cap. This is how we're getting money. And they did that together. You know what I mean? Howie, Jalen's agent, like I saw the video, both of them were saying, we worked together. They worked the numbers out for us. So as long as Jalen's wanting to do that, like, and not take that Tom Brady pay cut, I would give him his money because it's easier to flex money. But I would say this, if you want this extension now, I need freedom on the no trade after next year.
Yeah.
So if you want guaranteed money, that's fine. Because right now Jalen has a no trade clause.
Mm-hmm.
I say, look, I'm putting a time bomb on that no trade. I'm not going to do this year, so you don't have to worry about it. You've got your security. You've got your money. We're not going to have that conversation. But going into next year, if something comes up and we want to move out and we want to flip it, we have the option ability to do it. So that would be my personal negotiating power if I was Howie.
Yeah, I would not do it from the standpoint of he's guaranteed over $50 million this year. Like, I just don't think they're in a position to be asking for that. Like, yes, he won Super Bowl MVP, but he's coming off a year that was a down year. And in the year he won Super Bowl MVP, the passing game was uneven. Like, it's, his strongest year was in 2022. That doesn't mean he's been worthless since then, but like, I just don't think you're in the position right now to be demanding new things. And look, you can always do something too where you might need to adjust some numbers to make something happier, restructure something, like, some kind of half measure here if that's what it takes. But honestly, and look, I'm pretty even when it comes to Jalen. I will give myself, I think, I truly believe that. I frame it as like, I kind of just like arguing with everyone. I argue with the people who say Jalen can do no wrong. I argue with the people who go way too far on the Jalen hate, like our boy Jack Fritz.
Yeah.
Not always. I think sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. But I just think that I'm not in the position where I want to extend him. I want to see more. I think this is a big year for him, and they should draft someone. And it's not just about Jalen. Let's take Jalen out of it for a second entirely. Tanner McKee is going to go contract year. You're probably going to trade him, or he walks in free agency next year and you don't get anything for him, which isn't the worst thing in terms of, I think he's a solid backup. So, okay, you have that for one more year. But ideally, I'd like to get a pick for him because I think you can get something. And then at what point, or what do you have at that point? Nothing. Like, you could bring back Sam Howell if you want to. I don't feel great about that, but okay. I would like to draft someone, and not just because of Jalen, but because you have an option if you need to pivot, but more so because the other part of this is backup quarterbacks cost real money. You know how much someone like Zach Wilson, a bust, right? You know what Zach Wilson cost last year? Cost $6 million. Like, that's real money. Like, that's like a big contract for a player. So like, you have to pay backup quarterbacks if you're going with a veteran. So I would draft one just in part because they're cheap. They're really, really cheap. So I would draft a quarterback if the right guy is there. Obviously, it depends on what the board looks like. And it's not about, oh, I hate Jalen because I'm doing that. It's about because I'm saving money. And in the event that Jalen does not play well next year, you're going to need to start thinking about the future. And you're going to regret it if you did extend him if he doesn't play well this year. And I think it's totally fine to wait to pay him next year because at that point, he won't have any guaranteed money left in his contract. So you're going to have to make a decision there. But I don't think you need to make that decision right now.
So I am a Jalenite. I will defend Jalen to the hills, mainly because of one major thing besides his play, which is good and bad. His demeanor and Philadelphia and the way we are with stars. We will crush 90% of athletes that come here to be the quarterback. The way he started getting to McNabb was from the get-go, his heart was hurt, and it's just hard to play here. So Jalen handles it perfectly. I feel like no matter what, you keep Tanner. Hey, Tanner, we said we were going to do something for you, but just stay here because when Jalen gets hurt, you're already in the system, whatever. Don't go anywhere. Next year, we'll draft somebody. Because this year, I'm trying to draft linemen, bro. Like, I'm not really trying to play around unless I can find a quarterback late. I don't want the drama of a young quarterback, especially when I need linemen. And I need linemen bad. Like, that's my biggest takeaway for this offseason. I know we need a tight end, and I'm thinking about the line, but through the trenches is how this team has won. And I figured they're going to figure out Jordan Davis. Carter's going to have to wait because Carter's going to ask for so much money. He's actually hurt himself. His incident to start the season off last year, certain behaviors that he's had will ding him just a little bit. But he's also like on the players union or something. Isn't he like?
It's Carter?
Yeah, he's on some kind of players something. And I'm like, Carter? How's he there? Anyway, the money he's going to command is going to be so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Now everybody's like, oh, you should trade him. They went from trading Jalen Hurts to trading Jalen Carter. I'm like, well, one guy's a no trade. You can't trade him. And Carter's not going to get traded. He's one of the guys that came out there on that stage and said, I want to bring your team a Super Bowl. And we got a Super Bowl. He's got to retire an Eagle now. So I don't have to deal with that clip going anywhere else. What else? I think that's it. I think we did a good job saving the union, talking about everything that's going on. And, now it's time to see how the rest of the league reacts and does things. Where do you think Tyreek Hill ends up?
Back in Kansas City?
I hope back in Kansas City. My buddy's like, oh, he should really go to LA. I'm like, I don't think he'll survive another major city.
I don't think that's a good mix.
I don't think he'll survive another major city. I'm like, take that Lamborghini back to KC, slow it down. And that's what I think that's to happen. And I also did like McDaniels a lot to come here. You mentioned that earlier.
Yep.
I just knew that his wife and his story, they're hot, warm weather people. He wasn't going to come here, especially not for a head coaching job.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll see what the minion can do. I'll probably bother you, have you back on in like a month and a half or so. Checking on the State of the Union. I appreciate you, brother. Brandon Lee Gouton, BLG, Bleeding Green Nation. He's out there writing, reporting. He's got one of the best pinned tweets that always makes me laugh because it's one of the realest things that happen in the world. It's like read headline, don't read article, make comment.
Yeah. Go look at my Twitter page.
Yeah.
That's the hook for people. You have to go look at it. Yeah, go check it out.
Exactly. That's how it works out. And that's how half the articles are run. And people are like, these journalists don't know what they're doing. I'm like, well, did you read it? I read the headline. Okay.
Yep. That's
the headline's a teaser. You got to get the meat and potatoes with it. But right. I will have you linked up in the show. I appreciate you. I appreciate the time. And blackradio.com. Check me out. We're out. Have a good night.